Shabbat Shalom. What an honor to be back at Temple Beth Shalom. My name is Josh. I am originally from Mexico City, and I was a rabbinic intern here a couple of years ago in 2019. So I feel very, very grateful to be back. The Zaidi was increasingly worried about the Bobby's hearing loss. But before taking her to the doctor, he had read that one could check how serious the situation is. You stand behind the person losing their hearing at a certain distance. You ask a question, and if they don't answer, you move closer and repeat the question until you get a response. So one day, the Bobby was in the kitchen making dinner, and the Zaidi decided to do a hearing test. He stood behind her on the other side of the kitchen and asked, "What are we having for dinner tonight, dear?" No answer. So he took a few steps closer to her, and he asked again, "What's for dinner, dear?" No answer. He did the same thing 3 or 4 more times until he was standing right behind her, and he asked, "What's for dinner tonight, my love?" The Bobby looked over and yelled at him, "I have told you 5 times already, we are having meatballs." Sometimes we believe others are not hearing us because we are the ones not listening. When it comes to discomfort, criticism, or realities, we tend to shut our ears. Why? And yet, it is only through discomfort that change and growth can happen. On December 31st, 1912, a gunshot rang out in the darkness of the streets of New Orleans. Police arrived immediately and arrested a 12-year-old boy who had wanted to welcome the new year by shooting into the sky with a stolen gun. He was sent to a juvenile detention center, and there, the supervisor had such a difficult time with this young boy, he wanted to punish him by hitting the palms of his hands with a metal ruler. But since the boy was already used to harsh punishments, the supervisor decided to quiet him by giving him a trumpet instead. And Louis Armstrong learned his first notes. The most famous jazz musician of the 20th century became a musician because from his difficult childhood, a second opportunity at life emerged. Louis Armstrong decided to change. He decided to improve. He decided to grow. And yet, we often tend to say that difficult circumstances oppress us and that we can't change. Stories like these are repeated in the Torah again and again. Jacob made some bad decisions as a young man. He stole the birthright and blessing from his brother, and he fled as fast as he could. But then he was left alone, and he wrestled, and he changed, and he became the father of the people of Israel. Joseph bragged to his brothers about his dreams and interpretations, and they ended up hating him for that. But later, Joseph began to listen to the dreams of others, and he became the prince of Egypt. David committed sins, terrible, terrible sins, but he repented and became worthy of being the king of Israel. The Torah and life itself clearly teaches that we are all imperfect and fragile human beings, and that second chances are always within our reach. And what better time to welcome second chances than today on the first Shabbat of the year? We can all change. We can all grow. All we need to do is listen like the lobster. It turns out that the lobster is a soft, tender animal that lives inside a rigid shell. That shell does not expand. As the lobster grows, the shell becomes a great limiting factor, and the lobster feels uncomfortable and under pressure. So it hides under a rocky formation to protect itself from predators, sheds its shell, and grows a new, larger one. Eventually, that shell becomes uncomfortable as well, so the lobster repeats the process. It goes back under the rocky formations, sheds the shell, makes a new one, and it does this several times throughout its life. When a lobster is uncomfortable, it listens to that discomfort, changes, and keeps growing. Discomfort makes us grow. This is an uncomfortable truth in life, but difficulties, challenges, criticism, pain help our souls grow. And it's not that we seek discomfort. We don't go looking for it. But when it comes and knocks on our door, we must listen, like Louis Armstrong did, like Jacob, like Joseph, like King David, like the lobster, but not like the Zadie in our story, of course. Just in case anyone is wondering, the Bobby ended up taking him to the doctor. The Talmud tells us that behind every blade of grass, there is an angel whispering to it, grow. And if there's an angel behind every blade of grass, I believe there must be armies of angels behind each one of us, whispering, listen, change, do, build, learn, grow. And what a blessing that is. Let us learn to listen to each other and to ourselves, and let us grow. Shana Tova, 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 and Shabbat Shalom.
So Josh becomes very nervous when he has to speak or call pages or anything like that. I just want to tell you, he's exactly the same age as my son Joshua. So when we were in Mexico City those first couple of years, these Joshua and our Joshua were in the same playgroup, right? And then we came to